What if there was a way that you could have more time to actually really enjoy your hobbies on a Sunday afternoon and still get a few chores done? Without wasting any time, let's go ahead and get started in the bedroom, and we'll get a few chores done and we will set our week up for success and then have some time to enjoy some hobbies. One big takeaway for me from the last few years is that I have become extremely protective of my Sundays. It is incredibly rare that I will actually make any kind of plans for Sunday, and it doesn't mean that I don't do anything ever on Sundays, but I want to not have it be overly scheduled. And most Sundays I want the option to have a cozy feel to it, you know, the cutout sweatshirts, the leggings, all the things. So if I do end up doing anything on Sunday outside of the house, it is typically very spontaneous. Occasionally a cookout or something will come up, typically more on a long weekend than a normal weekend, but occasionally a family gathering will come up, and I do my best to make time for those whenever I can. But I've also gotten to the point where if I really do feel drained and like I need an energy reset, I simply won't go. And I know that sounds maybe selfish and ruthless, but I've just become so protective of my own energy that I've felt that this is an important thing to recognize when I need a break from the outside world. So this particular Sunday, I am starting by stripping the bed, because an ultimate cozy Sunday is going to bed at night on a cozy Sunday evening with freshly laundered sheets. To me, fresh sheet day is truly the best. And I don't have a particular schedule for this. That might be a hot take. I just wash my bedding when I feel like it needs it. There's no, like, it's every single week. It's not anything like that. It is so hard to break some of these terrible habits. This can is pretty much completely empty. It is completely empty. So, like, my old habit is, well, go ahead and put the empty can back to where, like, I normally would keep this in my bedroom. But then I was like, no. We are breaking these habits. I'm taking this to the trash right now. And those little bad habits that we have, that we tell ourselves are bad habits, those are the things that would gnaw at us, and we would just feel like, what is wrong with me that my instinct is put a can back so that the next time I go to grab it, I'm grabbing an empty can, instead of just taking the, I don't know, not even 20 seconds to take it to the trash. And so those are the things that we tend to beat ourselves up about. And it is a concerted effort and thought process to stop that cycle. But if we want to start feeling better about ourselves, we just have to put in just those little micro efforts. On this particular day, I typically would only focus on the dining room table and the chairs and kind of straightening those things out. But I also have gotten a little bit tired of stepping over some of these boxes and everything. And in these boxes are things that I felt were good enough that I could put in a yard sale, or if I decide I don't have the energy or the time when the weather gets nicer, that these will just go straight into donation. But honestly, I could use a little bit of extra cash. So, I mean, who doesn't? I'd like to really get my student loans down. I also know that at some point my vehicle is going to need to be replaced. So a little bit of extra cash would be super helpful. So that's why I'm in particular going to attempt to have a yard sale. But I also know it's going to be a really busy year. My brother is moving back to Ohio with his family. So, and that is coming up really soon. We didn't really know how quickly this would go or not, because he's been looking at houses for a few months, and or sending my dad to look at houses for a few months now that my dad is off of a cane. So, but he finally worked one out, and he'll be heading home at the end of this month with his first trailer load, and then I think the intent is that once the school year is over in Idaho, that they will be back when the kids are done with school. So that's really exciting to me, but I also know that that means it's going to get really busy. To give you an idea of some of what I am dealing with that I have set down on the dining room table is there are a few packages. If you remember from a few videos ago, I mentioned that I would want to go ahead and crochet a new front door mat for when you first come into the door. And so, of course, they couldn't send it all in one package. That would have been just simply too easy. So it came in two, well, one was a package and one was like a box. And so those are the colors that I picked out, which were very, very similar to the one I used to have that eventually got worn out. And so what's even kind of hilarious about this whole unboxing and unpackaging of these was when I went to go ahead and actually corral them. This is going to be so hilarious to watch because you see me putting the blue ones in with the tan ones, and I set one down there on the table. So then I'm like, wait, how do I only have 5 of the tan ones? And also I was actually really kind of annoyed. I'm going to show you here in just a moment at how terribly these came, and the ball bands were broken and messed up. So that's why I also assumed that one was missing. I just wasn't seeing it behind the box. So when I discovered it, I was like, oh my gosh, am I serious right now? That was actually pretty hilarious. Some of the other packages that came in while I wasn't feeling so hot were a Scentsy package. Again, you saw me actually shop for these Scentsy wax things and the little like base that I was looking for. And also I got the seeds from the University Extension, that's row 7 when you see that package. So go ahead and give them a check. They don't have a huge selection necessarily, but they have a lot of really interesting things. And I feel like there are a lot of northern states that are involved in this, particularly North Dakota. So that's where I'm like, these should be hardy enough for Ohio, I would hope. And the first year I've ordered from them, they did very well. Last year, I think, was just abysmal. And I don't know that it was necessarily the seeds that were the issue in this case. It was a really strange weather season last year. So that didn't really help. And now I'm just going through some mail. Most of it is junk mail and an envelope left over from, well, my Valentine's Day card from my dad. So I'm just kind of going through some of that, and I did hang on to a bill that does need to be paid. But other than that, everything mostly got to go in the trash, and those are the seeds I picked out for this season. So I do like to start my Sundays off, well, I mean, I guess it's really more like starting my Monday off with a nice clean and clear table. And one thing I have actually been struggling with is how to manage library books, because I'm done with this one. It needs to go back to the library. I don't really have a good spot for where the returns go. And I also don't really know how to like manage them in general, of like, these are the ones I haven't read yet, which usually I kind of do. So I just have piles of books, and that's, I think, a typical thing. I just want something a little bit better. I'm sure someone out there is going to be like, well, just go ahead and put it in your car right now, which, you know, my front seat is for my workbook bag. And so then I would put it in the back seat and probably honestly not notice it and completely forget and start the library find cycle all over again. So I'm going to take the risk of leaving this out on the table. And I know there is a little bit of a risk that, you know, clutter attracts more clutter. You know, things that are alike tend to come together. So I know it's not ideal, but I am going to leave it out here for now. And I think by leaving this one that needs to go back out on the table, that kind of pattern interrupt actually helps remind me of, hey, this needs to go back to the library, as well as a bill that needs to be paid. I'm also trying to be really good about taking things where they actually belong instead of just, shoving them somewhere. Like, I was really tempted to put the heavy duty Velcro and shove it into the junk drawer, but that is not the first place I would actually go to look for it. So that was my sign to, no, just go ahead and take it to where it belongs with all the rest of my tools. And then just picking up some packing paper that the cats were playing with, but they're not really so much anymore. The newness and the fun of it had worn off. And now to actually get those boxes out of the dining room, and they are going into the room that we had been working on, because now that it's cleared out, I think that's also why I was dying to clear it out, was I know I have boxes all over the house of things that I want to go for a garage sale, so I wanted to have a dedicated spot for all of those boxes and gather them there. And I'm going to actually be good about putting this kit of yarn together and make sure that everything's all set and ready to go for when I do decide I'm going to go ahead and start crocheting that the front door mat. And Case has got to check it out in case it's yarn he can play with, and he can't. So sorry, little buddy. Oh man. Anyway. And now Chloe's got to get in on the action. She's not a yarn player, really. She just wanted to say hi. And I can't remember which size crochet hooks I had used previously, so I'm just going to dump some in there. And the plant that I have decided I'm admitting defeat on. But I did decide to go ahead and replace it with one of the ones you helped me pick out a couple of weeks ago. Part of setting myself up for success for the week is that on Mondays I do attend a knit night for most Mondays, not every Monday, but the project that I'm currently working on that I plan to work on this afternoon has become a little bit big and cumbersome to actually pull out and work on while at a restaurant and trying to, manage eating and having a bag and all of those things. I'm going to get this skein of yarn wound up to, I don't know if I'm going yet to make a simple pair of socks with this. This is a self-striping yarn, which means that, the stripes will, come out on their own. I don't have to change colors. It is intentionally dyed such that you don't have to manage changing colors and weaving in a bunch of ends. So it will either be a simple pair of socks or possibly a really fun pair of fingerless mitts or gloves. I haven't totally decided yet. And, I have another whole day to figure that out, or, just whatever I end up casting on at knit night is what's going to happen. We made a ton of progress today. I'm so proud of you. And so I hope you realize how important it is to protect at least one day a week for yourself, and know that there's no single deadline for all of your cleaning and chores and decluttering. But it is great to see some progress, and after making so much progress, I'm going to go ahead and reward myself with an afternoon of crocheting, and I give you permission to do the same. But don't forget to enjoy your progress and celebrate everything you accomplished today, no matter how big or small. If you enjoyed hanging out and you have more chores that you need to do on this Sunday reset, go ahead and watch the video that I'm going to put up on the screen right here. And next week we are finally tackling the home office, and you're gonna get to go through it with me live. So I hope you have a really great week, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye.